A multi-camera sitcom, that is a scripted situational comedy that's recorded in front of a live studio audience, seems to be about as dead as Donald Trump's re-election chances. The Big Bang Theory was one of the last popular shows to have a live studio audience, and it's clear that most viewers aren't that fond of the laugh track. Many people seem to have the impression that a laugh track is simply there to tell the audience when to laugh, that it's there to mask bad writing and make jokes sound funnier than they actually are. But I think this view is a bit misguided, even if I do understand why people feel this way. The problem is that every sitcom in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s had a laugh track even if the show didn't actually call for one. So even if the show wanted to do something a little bit different, it was still pigeonholed into this format, and it held some shows back. Welcome to Physical Copy. Today we're going to be talking about Kenan and Kel and the live studio audience. First of all, I want to make it clear that I'm not going to be talking about pre-recorded canned laughter. There's a long, rich history of that on TV, but I am of the opinion that this method of placing laughter deserves the bad reputation it's gotten. It rarely works, and the audiences can tell when it's being used. I want to focus this video on the laugh track that comes from a live studio audience that is present at the studio when the show is recorded. The truth is, people do like live studio audiences in the right circumstances. For example, I don't think anybody would argue that stand-up comedy should be performed without an audience. It feels awkward, and it's super unsettling. For stand-up, the laughter is a sort of catharsis. A good joke is not complete until someone laughs. And when it comes to stand-up, a lack of laughter brings up images of someone failing at their set badly. This is why every stand-up routine that's recorded has some sort of audience. Talk shows and skit comedy, such as Saturday Night Live, are another genre of TV where everyone seems to agree benefit from the live studio audience. But why do these shows seem to get the pass on the laugh track, while the sitcom doesn't? I think the answer is that people don't see the sitcom as a stage performance. In the average TV viewer's mind, a sitcom is closer on the spectrum to a movie than to a stage play. But this simply isn't the case. The multi-camera sitcom is much closer to a play than many people may first realize. The concept of a live studio audience has its roots in radio. At the time, most acts recorded on the radio were originally just stage shows, and often the radio version was simply a broadcasted version of one of these shows. The studio audience eventually made its way onto television, however most of the shows at this time used pre-recorded canned laughter. And it was I Love Lucy that pioneered the use of multiple cameras and the live studio audience. The use of multiple cameras allowed for whole scenes of a show to be shot in a single take, as opposed to filming with only one camera and multiple takes. This allowed the performance to be closer to a live show as opposed to something that was pre-recorded. The performances were dictated by the reactions of the audience, and this created a dynamic that could not be replicated with pre-recorded laughter or even forgoing any recorded laughter altogether. And with all this info, it becomes pretty clear that a sitcom definitely is closer to that of a stage performance as opposed to that of a comedy movie. That brings me to Nickelodeon's classic 90s sitcom Kenan and Kel. Kenan and Kel is different from most sitcoms in that the strengths of a live studio audience are basically baked into the structure of the show. At the beginning and end of the show, Kenan and Kel walk out onto a stage and introduce and conclude the show. They are usually greeted with thunderous applause, and they address the audience directly, usually by saying something like,
"Okay, I'm here to welcome you out to the show."
Or,
"Tonight's show is about getting your goals and going after them."
There's usually a small bit where Kenan eventually leaves Kel, and Kel eventually running off after him, yelling, "Ah, here it goes!" Yeah, no, I suck at that. Kel's definitely the only one who can pull that off. There's this idea in literature of diegesis, the idea being that something is diegetic if it's experienced by the characters within the story. For example, the score to Star Wars is non-diegetic because none of the characters can hear or react to the music. And we can extend this idea to the live studio audience as well. While most sitcoms may have pauses to account for laughter, it's safe to say that laughter doesn't exist within the world of the characters. Kenan and Kel flips this idea to make the studio audience diegetic. Sure, during the main segment of the show, the characters may not acknowledge the audience, but that's not the whole story being told. If you step back, it's clear that the main story is that Kenan and Kel are performing the story in front of an audience. And these intros are a great way to contextualize the series in a way that the audience at home has a better understanding of the need for a studio audience. The laugh track is there because they are performing in front of an audience within the show. I think this is a brilliant idea, and more shows need to utilize this type of format. If networks are looking for a way to bring back laugh tracks into sitcoms, this structure may be the perfect way to do so. It isn't so much that modern audiences hate laugh tracks, it's more that creators and viewers have simply forgotten the context that should surround this type of show. A sitcom, it's like a play that's performed in front of a live studio audience.
Kenan and Kel was recorded in front of a live audience at Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando at Universal Studios, Florida.
Well, I'm back. Only took me 2 years, but I made another video. Only took me 2 years. I was literally working 2 years on this video. No, I wasn't, but a lot has changed since last time I uploaded. I think instead of just hitting the like or subscribe button, you're supposed to smash it or destroy it or vaporize it out of existence. So please do that. Like, subscribe. Hopefully there'll be another video soon.